everybody, it's Kristen here. Today I'm going to talk to you about 3 reasons why you are struggling with cravings and how to eliminate them. And if I had a penny for every time someone said, I am craving sweets or craving salty things, or I always have these cravings, what do I do about them? I would probably be very rich, because let's face it, people struggle with cravings on and off again over the course of their lifetime, and there are several reasons for why this could be happening, but I'm going to talk to you about 3 reasons why you might be struggling with cravings. So tons of information is going to be included in today's episode, so if you don't have something to write with, I would highly recommend getting something, take some notes, pass this along to a friend, whatever you need to do. I think that there's going to be valuable nuggets of information in here that really anybody can benefit from. So let's go ahead and dive into the very first reason why you might be struggling with cravings, and that might just be emotional triggers. So emotions play a huge role in eating, whether you realize it or not. I think a lot of people think that eating is just for physical reasons. So you eat when you're hungry and you stop when you're full. And that's not always true. I probably have used this example before, but if you ever had COVID and lost your sense of taste and you had to eat without being able to taste your food, it was incredibly boring. This certainly happened to me, and I was not even interested in eating food. So there's definitely going to be emotion tied up in eating food, and eating certain foods are going to make you feel good, whereas other foods might not make you feel as good, or you might be eating for reasons like you're happy, you're sad, you're depressed, you're anxious, you're stressed out. That's probably the number one thing. You know, we live in America, or, you know, just the world, and everybody's stressed out. That happens, and that can definitely bring on cravings. So if you feel like this is a problem for you, I highly suggest keeping a journal where you can write down what your feelings are of the day, kind of just get things off of your chest, but then also you can write down what you're eating for that day and how you feel surrounding that meal. Plus, if you are struggling with eating for emotional reasons, such as you are eating when you are stressed out, or maybe you feel lonely or you feel sad, it's really important that you are recognizing those and you are actually doing something about it. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more later on in this video, but I would highly suggest at least identifying that this is something that you are struggling with. So the next thing is when you are having nutritional deficiencies. So nutritional deficiencies can cause a lot of cravings, and that can be anything from you're not eating enough protein, you're not eating enough carbs, fats, or you're just not eating enough calories total, so your macronutrients, but it can also be your micronutrients. So for example, if you are low in magnesium, magnesium can actually cause you to crave more sweets and chocolate. If you are low in iron, iron can make you have crazy cravings where you are craving things that are not even food, which is called pica or pica, however you want to pronounce it, and that's just simply because your body does not have enough iron in it. Zinc deficiency can actually cause you to have salty cravings, and that can cause you to want to reach for a bag of chips. So that is something that you definitely want to identify, and those are probably the 2 biggest ones that I see are low magnesium and low zinc, and the salt and sweet cravings are definitely in line there. Vitamin D deficiency can make you crave carbohydrates and comfort foods, which is another thing. And then omega-3 fatty acids. If you are low in omega-3 fatty acids, which, let's face it, the American diet is higher in omega-6 and lower in omega-3s. So if you are low in omega-3s, you are going to be craving fatty foods and more of those snacky type foods that are high in fats, because that's going to provide, in theory, the omega-3s. But if you're not reaching for the correct foods, like salmon and walnuts and flax seeds and things like that, you're probably not going to be getting enough of those omega-3s, but you can see how your body will be craving those high fat foods. Also, if you are on a low carb diet, chances are you are low in B vitamins. And also, if you are a vegetarian or a vegan, you can be low in B12, and that is going to convert your food into usable energy. So if you are low in those, or in, B vitamins and especially B12, you're going to be low in energy, and then that can cause you to feel very sluggish and tired. And so you're going to reach for quick digesting carbohydrates, sugars, things along those lines, so that you can get those quick sources of energy. So what I would recommend doing here is actually using a program called Chronometer, again, however you want to pronounce it, chronometer.com. This is something that I actually use with some of my clients from time to time, where you can input your food. So it's kind of like a MyFitnessPal, but better, because one, it's not going to have a bunch of people randomly adding foods in that you don't even know, if they have the correct information or not. It's going to have accurate information. But two, it's not only going to calculate your macronutrients, so your proteins, your carbs, and your fats, and your calories, but it's also going to calculate your micronutrients. And you can actually see where you're constantly low in. Maybe you're continually low in magnesium over the course of each of your days, or your vitamin D levels, things along those lines. So it helps you to identify those things, and I definitely recommend using this program as a tool, not forever tracking your calories, but it'll help you to identify, okay, I'm not eating enough protein, or I'm not eating enough zinc or magnesium, or whatever the case might be for you. You can also work with a sports dietitian like myself, and when I look at a client's foods, I can usually just tell from looking at it, okay, well, they're not eating enough nuts, for example, so they might be low in magnesium. And so that is a great way to, if you really can't figure it out on your own, is to work with a qualified professional, like I said, myself included in that, a sports dietitian, to help you identify where you might be low. Also, you can go to your doctor and you can get a simple blood test, and you can ask, I want to know what my vitamin D levels are. I want to know what my zinc levels are, iron levels, things like that. And they can do a simple blood test and tell you. So if you are low in those foods, then you obviously want to address them with a food first mindset. So not one, just reaching for supplements, but certainly changing your diet around so that you can incorporate more of those foods, so that you are getting more of those nutrients. I'm going to give you an example of myself where I have been low in two things, and I have had cravings. So one of them, and this probably sounds very, very familiar to you if you've ever had this happen to you, is I ate a meal. I didn't have a very big meal, but I felt okay afterwards. I was, satisfied. Maybe not full, but I was satisfied. And I just went about my day. And probably like 20 to 30 minutes later, I was like, I really want something sweet right now. I want a piece of candy or whatever it was. I was really willing to settle on anything, something that was going to give me something sweet, very quickly. And I was thinking through this, like, why am I craving this? Because sweets is not usually something that I crave. And I started thinking about it, and I was like, I really didn't have a very big meal, and that meal didn't have very much protein in it. So what did I do? I wound up actually eating more of my meal, and I had more protein. And guess what? My craving actually completely disappeared. It was because I had not eaten enough calories and I had not eaten enough protein. And I find this very often, especially with females, because they feel like protein is going to be something that is heavy. It's going to make their meal heavy, and they don't want to eat too much, and they don't want to have a heavy meal. And so they just don't have enough protein, and they don't have enough calories. I've also seen not enough fat and enough carbohydrates. And so any of those things can make you crave sweets in particular, because your body's not getting enough energy. And so it's going to go for the quickest source of energy, and that's going to be something that is sweet. So I would highly suggest evaluating your diet using either Chronometer, or you can simply just write it down on a sheet of paper and identify, is this something that I'm not getting enough of, or am I getting enough of it? And you can even write after each meal, I'm craving such and such a food, and you can start looking at trends. Like I said, if this is something that you're struggling with and you can't figure it out on your own, definitely reach out, and I'd be happy to help you with that. Another example I'm going to tell you is a couple years ago, about 2.5 years ago, I was really struggling. I was tired all of the time. I had just had my third child, and I know you're probably thinking, oh, well, you had 3 kids. Of course you're tired. But I was really, really, really tired. Like, insanely tired. I was also craving salty foods all the time. I just wanted pickles and olives. I started craving coleslaw. Like, I don't know who craves coleslaw, but I was craving coleslaw. And I, after a while, started to come to the realization there is something wrong. And I went to my doctor and I said, either there's something wrong with my adrenals, my vitamin D is low, or it's my thyroid. And it was actually all three of them. And turns out that I got diagnosed with Addison's disease, which is a autoimmune condition which can be deadly if you do not catch it in time, or if you go through an adrenal crisis. But basically where your body attacks your adrenal glands, and your adrenal glands don't work, and your adrenal glands produce cortisol, which is needed for everyday life. Also, it produces aldosterone, which is a hormone that signals to your kidneys to reabsorb sodium. Well, my body was not reabsorbing sodium, so my blood sodium levels were in the spontaneous death range. I actually was admitted to the hospital and had to get replenished on sodium and on cortisol. But you know, if I had just ignored those signs of craving salt, then who knows what would have happened to me. And this is a very extreme example. You know, Addison's disease is actually a very not a common thing to have. But I'm just showing you that it is a thing where if you are craving something, I wouldn't completely dismiss it as like, oh, it's just me, I have a problem. There's probably a reason why you're actually craving that food, and you should get to the bottom of it. The last one, number 3, is habitual patterns. So if you have a habit of sitting in front of the TV and eating a bag of potato chips, or having a little sweet something after each of your meals, that's going to become a habit for you, and that's what your body's going to come to expect. Skipping meals. If you skip your meals, guess what? Your body's going to realize, hey, I'm not getting enough fuel here. I can't make it through the day, and I can't make it through my workouts, so I'm going to require that you eat more, and I'm going to require you to eat more food right now, which means your body's going to start having cravings for sweet food, because again, that's the quickest source of energy that your body can get. Or if you're not hydrating properly and you're not getting enough electrolytes in, guess what? You're going to crave more salt. I actually had a client one time, and if you were listening to this, a former client, if you were listening to this, you know who you are. She was not getting enough electrolytes in when she was doing, I think it was cycling or running at that time, I don't remember. And she went to a restaurant and she had a pancake and she was craving salt, and she just took the pancake and dumped a bunch of salt on it and ate it because she didn't have enough sodium. And so if you're not hydrating enough, you're not taking in enough of your electrolytes, that's a habit of yours, then guess what? You're going to crave some of these things. So it's really important that you are evaluating what your habits are as well. So if you are constantly sitting in front of your phone or the TV while you're eating and you're not paying attention to your food, then you don't really get the satisfaction out of your food, and you wind up actually either eating more, or you can not eat enough of what you need to be getting, and you actually never get the satisfaction out of your food either. So it's really important that you are mindful and you are present when you are eating and you're paying attention to these things. Another bad habit is lack of sleep. If you haven't had enough sleep, you know exactly what I'm talking about, where you feel like you're dragging throughout the day, you just need coffee and you need sweets. And that's, again, because your body is going to go for the quickest source of energy, and sweets are it. So again, it is very important that you look at all of these things and evaluate where this is coming from. The last one that I will touch on in habits is restrictive eating. And this, again, is not to single out female athletes, but I see it a lot in female athletes, where you want to get faster, you want to get better at your sport, or you want to look lean and toned and strong and all those things, and so you wind up cleaning up your diet some, and then that kind of spirals out of control a little bit, and you wind up restricting your eating, and everybody starts saying, oh wow, you look so great, and then it again spirals out of control a little bit more, and now you're in this whole disordered eating pattern, and you are craving foods. This happened to me when I was struggling with my eating disorder. I would go to bed starving, and I wanted food, and I would just be thinking about all the things that I wanted to eat, but I wouldn't allow myself to have. And it was because I wasn't eating enough. I was restricting my intake. I was still trying to work out, and I was in college at the time, and I was trying to, do a full course load and all these things, and my body just wasn't getting enough of what it needs. So I highly suggest ways that you can eliminate all these cravings is, one, to take a food journal. Just identify what the problems are. So is it that you are not getting enough protein, carbs, fat, or calories? Use that chronometer program, and I will drop the link in the comments below so you have that. So you can evaluate where your micronutrients are. Are you getting enough of those micronutrients, and could that be contributing? If it is something that is habitual, look at what your habits are and start working to change those. If you're not getting enough sleep, well, what do you need to do to get into bed earlier? If you are restricting your eating and that is something you just can't get past, that is where you really need to reach out for help. You need to work with a sports dietitian, and you also need to work with a therapist through that. If you are always reaching for something sweet after a meal, well, maybe you want to try doing something to distract yourself. Maybe you just go for a walk after you eat your meal rather than always reaching for something sweet. If this is something that you are still struggling with, I would honestly pray before your meals and ask God to help you through all of that. That is something that is probably an understated advantage to helping you in all of this, is asking God to help you, because that is a huge way that I actually work through all of my issues, in addition to intuitive eating and being very aware of things. So like I said, I would identify what the problems are, try to work through those. And if you can't, reach out for help. I am happy to help you. If this is something that you feel like it's monumental, you can't work past these cravings, you can go onto my website and you can sign up for a free consultation with me, which is just elitenutritionandperformance.com/consult. And I'd be happy to talk to you and just identify where those problem areas are for you and how we can work through them to get rid of them. So I really appreciate you watching this video today. If you got something out of this video, please like it, please comment on it, share it, invite your friends to this Facebook group, and thanks for watching, and have a great rest of your day.